Good morning. Here we are. Let the paint dry. This is going to be the second to the last one we do here. So we got one more. Hopefully I can get it in tomorrow. Let me see if I can straighten the camera out here. Sorry about that. We're going to go with the shot. This was the morning that I didn't feel like doing this. I didn't feel like getting up and being here. Showing up in my own backyard in the garden. It's flowers. Beautiful. With everything that I have going on, I was so overwhelmed. Just exhausted. Mentally, not physically. Slept well last night. Dreamed. A very solid dream. We got breakfast. Eggs, avocado, tortilla. Got an orange. It's a juicy one. Welcome to Let the Paint Dry. When you don't feel like getting up and doing it, that's when you know you have to. That's when you know you need to. Boom, ba-dum, bap, boom, ba-dum, bap, boom, ba-dum, bap, boom, ba-dum. When you don't feel like you want to get up anyway. When you don't feel like you want to wake up anyway. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. If I look like I'm glowing, it's because I am. Boom, 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 boom. In the midst of the pressure, we glow. Because we know who we are. We know where we've come from. We know what we've been through. Sorry, I was going to spit, and I was like, no, can't do that. Just let the paint dry. Not that raw yet. That's a little much. But as we look at where we are, I was thinking this morning as I was waking up, getting myself together. I was thinking about my art and what I've been looking at 100 years ago. How much is similar and how much is the same? How much similar, how much same? That was making sense. How much is changed and how much is the same? I've been thinking about 100 years ago, 2020, 100 years ago was the 20s, the roaring 20s. And I was thinking about those magazines that I saw that were historical documents and archives of the culture back then. And I've been thinking about that in relationship to my work, and I'm going to incorporate that. At first, I was so triggered looking at these magazines that I was just like, I can't even look at this. But as I sat with it, it doesn't play into, it is the narrative that I've been working with the comfort of whiteness and how that is related to blackness. And blackness, black people have lived lives to support white comfort for so long on so many different levels, whether it's a level of shrinking our blackness so that it makes you more comfortable or actually making white people comfortable. This is stuff that certain black people don't want to talk about because it's so triggering and painful. We rather live in denial that this actually exists. And black people do have successes. There are successes. I'm a very successful person in one regard, but it would be so much easier, and it is so much easier for my white counterparts. And this current, and that can be triggering to white people, make you uncomfortable, because you have struggles, but you have a culture and a power structure that pushes you. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds of white privilege or white insecurity or any of that stuff, but not on here. I'm going to just touch on it because it's important to keep communication and love. And I grew up in a white community, so I have a lot of white friends, and some of them I've had to disconnect from. It's just too much. They're not going to work on their stuff that's damaging and violent and all that good stuff, and that's okay. I'm just focused on making sure I'm healthy, and that those that get it and that are healthy to be around, I can be there for them. Um, as we look at this, I'm looking at I feel like there's a healing that needs to take place between white people and black people. And in this weird way, we can't do it together. We have to do it on our own, like our own personal healing. But we have to recognize that there's this relationship, like an intimacy of white and blackness in this country that has historically been supported by every institution and even us. It's a power structure. In order to survive, black people have assimilated. I think that's you get not a simulation, but a simulation. You get what I'm saying? They've had to act like they're white, but tuck their blackness in, tuck that in, right? We had to tuck that away and make sure. And it was all in efforts to not get killed. And it's not just like a one-time thing, it's a way of living. And realizing as I look at those magazines that I looked at from 100 years ago, 1920, whatever, and seeing advertisements that there was this narrative and this culture and this acceptance of whiteness being comfortable, white people being comfortable, taken care of. And that wasn't the case for black folks. And it still isn't on a large enough scale, right? And so that's what my artwork is dealing with, is this relationship. And how do we go forward now? Because we haven't yet conquered this. We haven't conquered this thing. And that's why the pandemic for me was really helpful, to have white people just, their energy turned down a little bit, just checked a little bit. And it wasn't us trying to check, it was just the world. That was very helpful. And so it allowed me to breathe different. And as we get back out and you see it, we get back out, that energy starts to come up, right? So in all of this, as an artist, my purpose is to be clear on my communication and to create dialogue. I have a couple pieces, big pieces that'll be coming out later this year in public spaces. And it's not to trigger anybody. And I try to enter into the conversation. Here I am, making people comfortable. But I try to enter it into a place where we can move forward, right? Because when I look at how people learn things, we don't really learn things in harsh environments. We learn things when we can perceive them at the altitude that we're at. If we can perceive information at the comfort level and altitude that we're at, and then we have to choose to grow. Many won't, and I'm okay with that. But there are pieces that are dealing with our history in a very modern, not even modern, but it's dealing with our history now, because our history is now. And there's so many things that we have been doing for so long that we haven't corrected or even tried to change. And when we start to look at the nuances of breaking down this system, it becomes overwhelming. And it is overwhelming because it's that big. It's hegemony. I've done a lot of work around hegemony. But this relationship of white and black bodies and how we move together historically through America, I'm just looking at the last 100 years. Now, we can go back further and see where it came from, and there's a lot. There's a big foundation that allowed America to happen. A lot of things historically. I get that. But all I'm interested in is the last 100 years, because that's not that long ago. There's people still alive right now. There are people still alive right now that 100 years ago, they're in their 90s now in some rest home, and they'll go out on a social event and they'll have a black Uber driver pick them up. That has been happening for 100 years. It wasn't Uber, it was some other black guy 100 years ago that was taking care of them. A nanny. And so when we look at the nanny archetype, and then we look at the brute black archetype, or the kind of broken black male archetype, and then we look at the Jezebel black woman archetype, black feminine energy archetype. When we look at those archetypes, that's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm digging through. Because it's right now. It's here. It's today. It's this moment. It's me sitting here. all of this shit is that. Go in love. Do work that matters. I can't be with you personally, but I can be with you in spirit. I can be with you in the cosmos. I can be with you maybe through the internet a little bit. I got a little bit, but not much. I love you. Let the paint dry.